Thank you for joining us on this very topical and transformative discussion around driving federal innovation with AI. So I want to do a little audience participation real quick. By show of hands, who uses AI in their personal life at home? Okay, keep those hands up, keep them up. Now, keep the hand up if you're using AI in your workplace. Yeah, so some of those hands go down, right? So that naturally is something that we always talk about with our customers is you use it at home, why don't you want to use it at work, right? Our lives have gotten improved, we've become more efficient. The way that we do things, we've done it that way. So now we're going to have a conversation of how a partner at CMS drove their own innovation and put us out there on AI. So CMS, for those that don't know, was the first in the federal civilian sector to implement Now Assist for CSM. In addition to that, they were also the very first in any federal agency to enable Now Assist for Creator. So that is a testament that organizations and agencies can lean into AI innovation and still maintain security, compliance, and ethical implementations. So today I want to touch on how we got to the GenAI tool. We're going to talk about the means and methods we got to navigate those waters that were out there to bring the tool to light and get it accredited. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future technology and the state of technology in the federal space that ServiceNow is putting out there for these AI innovative tools. So my name is Jeremy Tipton. I'm the Director of Digital Platforms at iTech AG, and I have the privilege of serving and leading the very first implementation of Now Assist over at CMS. Seeing the tool kind of go live into production has really given us a chance to take a look at optimizing efficiencies within the workforce, to automate workflows, and to really push enablement for people across the entire organization with both tools and information. I also have with me some distinguished panelists here that are actively involved at CMS, and they were the leaders that drove us to success in addition to our government counterparts. So Catherine, you want to take a moment and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Catherine Edwards. I'm the product manager for the CCSQ ServiceNow program. I've been on this program for 4 years, and I actively work with our CMS customer to prioritize and manage our backlog.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanya Harris. I'm the customer success manager for our ServiceNow Impact program, and I support the federal, healthcare, and finance verticals, along with the very CMS customer we're going to talk about today, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Dustin Baer. I'm the Director of ServiceNow Solutions at iTech AG and Certified Master Architect on the CMS program. I've probably worked with some of you out there, and I'm just excited to be here and share the story with everybody today.
Good, well thank you, panel. So to set the stage, I want to start with CMS and kind of those directives that come from organizations to do these innovations. CMS, the agency that we support at CMS is CCSQ, and that stands for the Center for Clinical Standards and Quality. Their focal point is for all quality, clinical, medical, and science issues, survey and certification, and policies for all CMS programs. That's a lot. So this innovation and this transformation wasn't just about efficiency, it's about impact to the customer and the end constituents as well. Hopefully drive those answers in a more efficient way so that you get first-time resolutions, you reduce ticket times and things like that. The CMS leadership they gave a very clear vision of what these tools were trying to do. They wanted to enhance the customer experience, they wanted to create operational efficiencies, they wanted to reduce costs, and they also wanted to enable strategic transformation across the enterprise. So to do that, our CMS program leadership at CCSQ gave us 2 very clear directives. They wanted us to provide a platform that empowers agents to improve service delivery, and then modernize and automate workflows using tools like AI search and other leading-edge technologies. So now we talked a little bit about the why. I want to get into the how and the nuts and bolts of this thing. So Catherine, I want to start with you. What was CMS's approach to addressing these challenges? What technologies did the agency select, and that made the most sense for reaching their objectives?
Yeah, so the first step was just really setting that foundation in our ServiceNow instance to have what we need to support something like Now Assist. So one of the first components is our CSM configurable workspace. So our call center agents, they use that. We migrated them to the new CSM. They were using Agent Workspace. And it really allows them to get those efficiencies from the newer workspace. And once you have that in place, we're constantly adding the new ServiceNow capabilities and improvements to those. Also, Next Experience UI in the platform, we also migrated to that as well, just to improve the navigation, UI. And again, it's one of those components you need in place to add something like Now Assist. So having that in place, you really decrease that implementation scope and you're able to release your customers a lot quicker. And then also another common risk of implementing anything IT related is just releasing a stagnant product that you're not revisiting, you're not improving. But with their strong relationship with the ServiceNow Impact Squad, we're constantly learning not only what the tool is we're releasing, but what's already in that roadmap of what's coming next and what enhancements we're adding. So we then can go to our customers and simultaneously tell them that as well. So they're looking forward to the current, but also the future of that product.
And so, based on what Catherine said, CMS recognized that an investment in GenAI would amplify these efforts that Catherine is talking about. So you look at AI-powered tools like Now Assist, you're delivering more direct and accurate responses, right? You are reducing the amount of time to resolve those ticket cases, and you're also boosting satisfaction rates. So overall, right now, Assist is creating that operational efficiency, and that is in a number of different ways. That's including automating those repetitive tasks, right? You are optimizing processes, and you're increasing productivity.
And Now Assist just really aligns with our agency's goals of reducing those operational costs and increasing that innovation. And that combined with, we work on a very strategic scaled agile framework. And so where we have the strategic planning, change management, effective decision making already in place. So it just gives us the tools that we need to achieve those agency goals.
Cool. What were some of the initial results that came out of this?
Yeah, so the first was releasing on time. So again, we are scaled agile. So we had a 3-month program increment. We developed, we released on time. And then second is we just completed our innovative marketing to programs who are not currently using Now Assist. And we already have the success story of releasing to 2 more programs this spring. So pretty good for something we just released 2 months ago.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 months. So to key on that a little bit more, CMS, so they enable 3 skills, right, for their Now Assist for CSM. The first one, you have case summarization, and then with that skill, the agent can quickly create summaries of their customer service cases to provide that case context. The second, they can also provide summaries of actions that have been taken and also resolution details. Second one, you have chat summarization. And that chat summarization created by our Now Assist, you can look through the chat, you can get those details, and you're saving time for the requester having to provide the same information that they provided the virtual agent already. And third, you have the resolution note generation. So it's important to note with these tools, right, it's a tool that's always learning and it's evolving with each interaction. So the more that you're going to use it, the better the results will be.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I'd like to point out too is with Now Assist, we're really enhancing CMS capabilities by improving customer experience. So their interactions are going to be smoother and more intuitive. But more than that, it's really not just about solving for today's challenges. We also want to make sure that we're setting CMS up for success in the long term. So by using technologies like Now Assist, GenAI, CMS is going to be able to harness their data in new ways, unlocking future innovation.
Great. So next I want to touch on how we make the case for this investment. Yeah. So leading edge technologies have a cost, whether it be manpower, dollars, capacity, there is a cost, and it's significant because it is new and it's unproven. So Catherine, let's start with you. How did you work with CMS to make the case for this investment?
Yeah, so it really was just a culmination of the strong relationship and coordination we have of ServiceNow Impact Squad, CMS, and iTech AG. And just, we truly exemplify that 3-legged stool analogy where we all maximize each other's strengths to work at that maximized performance, whereas a weakness or lack of any of us would negatively impact that. And as Coach K said this morning, just it's more effective to work as one, so it really exemplifies that. And the strongest example I could say is our process improvement with the ServiceNow Impact Squad. And we have a technical roadmap review that we do quarterly right before our Scaled Agile. And it really allows us to do a deep dive into the product knowledge, what's coming to our current tools, also what future tools could impact our program and add some value. And that's finally just evolved us to this innovative stance that has been a long-term goal of our program. Finally, instead of relying on our customers to give us information and tell us how to improve their tools, we're now pushing that innovation to them and really understanding their use cases and how ServiceNow products can help with that. And then that segues into just the proven success we've already had between the three of us. So one of our biggest success stories is our idea portals. So we allow customers, we give them a public portal where their community does not need ServiceNow licenses. They can go in, submit ideas, allows them to really hear from their community, and then we integrate that with idea management on our platform. So those ServiceNow licensed customers, they use that to manage, prioritize, and then we integrate with Jira for them to add that to their backlog. So the second is ServiceNow's out-of-the-box Employee Center. We used that recently to enhance our self-service portal for our ServiceNow licensed customers so they can go in and have a better experience of looking at knowledge articles, submitting incidents and service requests and all of that. And then lastly, as I mentioned, CSM configurable workspace, just quickly migrating the agents to the more efficient workspace to receive all the benefits from ServiceNow. And then I know Tanya has some stuff to add to that.
Yeah, so just working together, the three of us, it was really important to make sure that CMS, they had that awareness of these new and updated capabilities. So we were able to do that, helping them include these capabilities in their roadmap that our ServiceNow Impact team suggested. And a little bit more on that. So the Impact program is created to provide that personalized, prescriptive guidance to our customers to help increase their use of their ServiceNow platform. And we did just that with CCSQ. I mean, at the beginning, we kicked off the Impact program. We sat down with them, asked them about their business initiatives, their goals, and moving forward, we created a roadmap to include these more innovative offers that ServiceNow has. And as a matter of fact, I mean, one of the initiatives that CCSQ had was the increasing innovation. So what better way to do that than to use Now Assist? You know, moving past or in addition to our roadmap exercises, you know, Impact, we were also able to help CCSQ as far as addressing any questions that came up from a product perspective, right? Going into our organization, providing access to the product team, if they have any questions about whether it was with documentation, whether it's with technical expertise, questions around that, and even moving forward, we're able to help CCSQ get ready for their technical data review board. And in that, I know there are certain concerns that they're going to have, right? It's the federal government. So of course, you're going to bring up, what's going to come up is data privacy. So we took that opportunity to address those needs, reiterating that that data is within the GCC and that that GCC customer data will stay, that GCC customer data will not be used to train ServiceNow LLM. So overall, we are really happy to help with that journey and with that support.
Yeah, great. So everyone in this room has been a part of the implementation, and we get those wonderful roadmaps from our product people, and then we give them to our smart people, and we say, now what? So Dustin, can you kind of walk us through how iTech worked with CMS to align these agency-specific needs? And can you share the process for gaining alignment with stakeholders?
Yeah, definitely. So the way we do this is through what we call our enabler process. And I've been doing this a while, and I really haven't seen a method or a process that's been as effective as this when it comes to consistently pushing out innovation. And what enablers are, it's a way for us to take a deep dive into platform capabilities, so both existing and new, and really try to understand how they might deliver value to CMS based on their specific goals. And it could really come from anywhere. So underutilized licenses are something that we're always trying to look at, net new functionality to the platform potentially. And really the whole goal here is to just make sure that we have a focus on innovating and that it's tying back to their specific goals. And when we're talking about enablers, the way that we accomplish this, it really starts with research and refinement. So our architects, and we have a big team of architects, they come up with a generalized capability statement based on that particular feature or the idea that they may have that does align with CMS goals. And they'll go through the process of building out a proof of concept if they need to, just to make sure that when it does come time to meet with the stakeholders, we can demo it. And they'll continue to rework it and refine it just to make sure that it ultimately will deliver the value that we thought that it may to begin with. And I know that I kind of mentioned this when I started, but I can't emphasize this enough. In all the projects and all the customers I've worked with, I've never seen something like this, and I know I started with that. But I just have to emphasize it, and I'll get into why that's important in a moment. But once the architects come up with their particular enabler that they want to actually present, we'll meet with the stakeholders, we'll go through the presentation side of it, demo that POC, and really we're just looking to get a go, no-go on if the customer actually thinks, hey, this is a good idea, we do want to implement this, we see the value. And if they do approve it, we'll get with the program management team and we'll plan that for a future program increment or PI, which ties into some of our scaled agile processes.
So at CMS, we have a very large team of about 45 individuals working this whole process, and a very mature, safe delivery team that's been doing it for quite some time. But Dustin, do you think agencies or organizations need to be mature in their delivery model to enable this process? Or do you think it's something that can be adopted early and evolved as you grow?
Yeah, and this is why I kind of emphasize that multiple times. So I really don't think it matters. If you have a small team, if you have a large team, really regardless of where you are at from a maturity perspective, at the end of the day, if you want to innovate, and pretty much everybody does want to innovate, and the big challenge is always finding bandwidth, finding resources that are available for it, starting small is going to be better than never starting at all. So the thing that I would definitely encourage everybody is to find out what works best for your teams, whether it's 1 to 2 enablers every quarter, maybe it's 1 enabler per 6 months. The real goal here is to just make sure that you're starting the process of focusing on innovating so then you can actually start to roll out some of these next-gen solutions and AI solutions.
Great. So ServiceNow is the GenAI tool. Obviously, we were first in Federal to do a lot of this. And so that means there's not a ton of documentation out there. So one of the things that we had to rely on was reaching back to ServiceNow to say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Is this native or is this a bug? So Tanya, can you touch on how ServiceNow's Impact program was able to support that smooth implementation?
Sure, Jeremy. So when the procurement came through for Now Assist, we tied this to our Vanguard program. So our Vanguard program is provided to early adopters of our ServiceNow capabilities. And in that program, we are providing access to product SMEs, engineering teams, and we also, I would say, and everyone here can attest to this, in doing that, we worked really, really closely and had that constant communication, and it was on a weekly basis. And it was great because going to Catherine's mention of that 3-legged stool, right? We're all in the same room working to problem solve to make things go right. And also part of our Vanguard program too is to provide feedback, right? Our customers and our partners can provide feedback to ServiceNow as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to this as well. I think the constant, consistent feedback loop between iTech AG, ServiceNow, and the product teams was pretty imperative to, I think, us being as successful as we were, as quickly as we were. And I think that's kind of like the key thing to take note of, is how quickly we could adapt and get these solutions built out. And it's really because we would leverage things like the Jumpstart programs, which was something that was new to me, and something that I'm actually really happy about utilizing in the future. And the Jumpstart programs are where, let's say you have an application or a new license that maybe your customer has procured, and you just want to learn more of it from a team perspective, development perspective at a high level. We get with the impact team, the product SMEs, and they'll go through kind of like a high level understanding of what that application looks like, best use cases for it, and ultimately kind of setting you up for success in terms of how you should start to configure it or start to implement it. So it's something really good to leverage when you're planning something new. But then the other thing that I loved was the reverse sharing sessions. And this is where we would pull in actual product SMEs who were building the tools. And for us, when we were planning to build an RPA POC, and I know that's not the topic of the conversation, but when we were planning to build out our RPA POC, we got with the RPA SMEs and they looked at our solution and let us ask all of the technical questions that we needed to ask. And they even took some of those questions away, had a follow-up meeting with us in the future, and then helped realign us, making sure that our solution, our approach was heading in the right direction. And for me as a CMA, that really helps me make sure that the platform's stable consistently. We are pushing out new value on the platform, and it makes my job a little bit easier, to be honest. So, yeah.
So, Catherine, I want you to put on your functional hat here, and maybe you could give us some insight into how, post-development or kind of post-development, you were able to engage with product owners and ultimately stakeholders to make sure that the product was going to meet their needs.
Yeah, so the first there is just checking in with that development team working on it, making sure what they're developing and planning to release to the end customer is what we established during that innovative phase that Dustin and Tanya keep mentioning of the feature requirements and acceptance criteria. And then also, Tanya also mentioned we have the weekly meetings with the Impact Squad where we're able to learn about the new capabilities and improvements that I mentioned earlier to help with our customer stance. And then, so adding to that. And then the third is just checking in post-deployment and post-release with your customers and seeing how they're enjoying the tool and opening that customer feedback loop and just focus on their use cases and that continuous improvement for them.
So now I want to pivot the conversation and ask each of them to pull out their crystal balls here. And I want to look to the future for technology on the platform. So Tanya, as our resident ServiceNow impact person, how can upcoming ServiceNow capabilities serve as force multipliers for CMS's mission? And what innovations should the audience here keep an eye out for?
Yes, the $1 million question about the future, right? So, and earlier, I don't know if some of you attended Chris Betty's session, the welcome session, but he did talk about the AI agents. I will put on my safe harbor hat. Yes, he said March. But, sometimes roadmaps, they do change. And going back a little bit, yes, ServiceNow, we want to be that's our goal, the AI platform for work. So we are constantly innovating to support greater efficiency, greater productivity. And so with that being said, taking a look at AI agents, it's not just a better chat bot, right? They're adapting to your business needs and working autonomously to get work done. And there are, as Chris was talking about earlier, thousands and a lot of teams of AI agents, and they're working together, whether it's across IT, it's CRM, security, finance. So they're able to be there to get things done and allow us to work on other things that maybe we wouldn't be able to get to.
Yeah, and I think, as Tanya mentioned, we're consistently focusing, it's pretty clear at this point, focusing on innovation. And one of the things we're planning to pilot in the short term is another AI-driven solution, which is process mining. I'm sure some of you have probably heard of it, very well aware of it at this point. For me, I love it. I think it's one of the best products that are available when it comes to actually finding inefficiencies in a company. And we're planning to leverage it to analyze millions of our customer service data, IT service management data, find bottlenecks in that data and those processes, and then again, really start to make strides towards fixing those inefficiencies and starting to push out better processes. And obviously, AI agents, once we do have the capability to leverage those in GCC, we're 100% going to start to focus on that and trying to figure out how we can deliver value to CMS in that area as well. But the last thing I would say too is, when it comes to innovating for us, it's something that we're going to continue to do, and as we do bring those new solutions to the table, we'll obviously keep everybody updated on that as well. So.
Yeah, one thing we went to yesterday, Dustin and I had the privilege of attending, was a ramp camp out at the Vienna office for ServiceNow, and they talked about some of the innovations that are coming and GCC dates and all the fun stuff that we usually deal with in federal. But I think the biggest takeaway that I had from that is the use of AI agents and how that's going to be blown up across the platform and kind of leveraged for everything and give folks the ability to kind of develop their own AI agents and come up with their own use cases. And I think, with that advent coming up, I think it's some safe harbor sometime in June. But I think that is really going to help to revolutionize and apply that to this room because, yes, many of us solve the same business problems, but it's not always the exact same. So being able to configure and change for our own business needs, I think is going to be critical.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for the cool T-shirt slogan time. That was bad. Sure. T-shirt slogan time. What's one thing that you would use as a takeaway or tell the folks in this room to remember as they embark on enablement of AI solutions? Catherine?
Yeah, so I will say two. So one, effective planning, And the second is just really learning the teams you're working with and building that three-legged stool analogy we keep talking about, and knowing their strengths and how to effectively execute those to achieve your goals.
I will break the rule. I will also reiterate having customers working closely with their partner, right, as we talked about today, and with their impact squad. And then second is remember why you are implementing AI or Now Assist. So remember that there's the why, tie it to whatever goals or what the success look like.
Yeah, I think if I had one thing that I'd end this with, it would probably be just don't be afraid to take on a challenge. So I think a lot of times, especially in my experience, again, I mentioned this previously, everybody wants to innovate, but it's always a challenge to figure out how to do that. So I would say, hopefully you can leave the conversation today with some inspiration to potentially start your own enabler type of process to where you can consistently focus on innovating. Again, for myself, until I was part of this program where we were always making it a focus, I don't know if I would have been here today talking about some of these things. So figure out what works best for you and your teams, but I would definitely just say, yeah, don't be afraid to take on that challenge.
Well, perfect. Yeah, thank you for those insights. I think we move towards questions here. I hope this was useful and fruitful, coupled with some of the technologies we're hearing about with the AI, kind of our journey on how we were able to make it possible. I know our customer wanted to be on stage with us today. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it. And I will say that from a federal perspective, as people who are advancing the technology and putting out the demand for this technology, your buy-in and your executives' buy-in and your senior leadership buy-in is as critical as the implementation or the roadmaps. Because at the end of the day, if adoption doesn't occur, whether it be kind of nudged or early adopted, it won't make an impact. And so the investment dollars go away, and then it's hard to get back on another investment for another technology because you didn't succeed in the beginning. So with that, I think we can open the floor for some questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, how is your team tracking and measuring the performance of the AI agents to kind of leverage that return on investment that you're sending back to the customer?
You guys want me to take?
Go ahead.
I can answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it all starts with setting your baseline. So before we did go through the process of implementing Now Assist and some of those AI solutions, we kind of had a good understanding of where they were from a metrics perspective to start with. So once we did start to implement those solutions, now it's actually very easy for us because we can look at where they're at today and quickly and basically effortlessly say, hey, here are your actual real value gains. And I think it's just really making sure you have that foundation to start with. If you don't start tracking it today, you're probably not going to be successful in understanding it after the fact.
Do y'all have any plans as far as making that part of the package? Performance and metrics.
Oh, that's a ServiceNow question, Tanya.
Performance metrics, well, I think I need to take that into consideration. I mean, I know when we went through with CCSQ, part of our, I guess, offering with the Impact Squad is finding out, where are things now? We have someone on our team that went through metrics, talked about, and sometimes it may also require the customer to maybe improve some of the things they're doing, take a harder look at some of the metrics that they have, and we can start with that, but then we have the exercise of going back, maybe it's quarterly, to see what those look like.
I guess my final follow-up question with that was, I was just curious if y'all had used process mining for that at all.
No, so that was what I was
So,
mentioning earlier.
yeah.
We're looking to pilot it, and I'm extremely excited about it. I love process mining, so yeah.
Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
I had a question.
Yep.
So, it sounds like with the three-legged stool, you talked about the importance of the three groups being together. How did you kind of come up with those feedback loops? How often you have those? And were they, did you come up with some new rhythms you'll use going forward? Was there give the dev team enough time to get a start? Or can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we met, it started off maybe it was every other week, right? And then as we were getting closer to their go live, it was every week. And then I think, and Dustin and Catherine, you can talk to this, I think before you even came to our meetings, there was some prep that you guys did, right, in order to just make sure that our meetings were very productive, and we were addressing what needed to be addressed or problem solved.
Yeah, there was a whole roadmap provided by ServiceNow
Yeah.
that was super helpful of just, this is the first step, let's have a kickoff meeting and go over it. And then I know it ended with lessons learned from the implementation and just really working together to get that output.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. So for me, in a lot of ways that I engage with their teams, I'll just reach out when I need help, to be honest. And what I mean by that is if our architecture teams or development teams or anybody that's with the program needs further assistance, I'll just reach out and I'll say, hey, let's get something scheduled, and they're more than open to working with us, which I think is also something that has been really just refreshing, I guess, because anytime we need help, within a day, we'll have an entire working session scheduled, and they're available for us as much as we need them.
We have our weekly meeting with our customer, and that also includes the partner. But outside of that, like Dustin was alluding to as well, is we have those actual focus meetings, right, on what's going on as far as problem solving. And then outside of that, we made ourselves available. So whether it was Impact Squad or us reaching out to an engineer or product person.
That and having Nick Cabrera's number on speed dial really helped. Is there a question over here?
Yeah, I was curious, how has this impacted your energy consumption? Because I know these can be really energy intensive.
That's a good question.
I don't know that we have an evaluation for that just yet.
No.
We're pretty fledgling in rolling this out. I think we're starting out small, and we've kind of got some targeted users that are leveraging this. So I think that's something that we could certainly take back, and it's a great metric to have in our back pocket to understand.
So, I'm super glad to see the success with everything you guys ran through with it, but, speaking from the outside, learning from other people's successes doesn't really help as much, but what was your biggest struggle or failure in the process that you can kind of give as lessons learned or something to us as you start to go through this process so that we don't stumble the same way?
So I'm going to put on a technical hat, which I never do. So Dustin, keep me honest here.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we realized is that there were certain customizations when we first enabled it that we had to go through, and unknowingly, because it's an out of the box, it truly is a black box that you just plug in and it starts to evolve on its own. So whatever certain customizations that you had in there, we had to go ahead and decouple those and remove those. And Dustin and I had to troubleshoot on a couple of them that were really embedded, and we had to cut, paste, and then start ripping things out to figure out where it was. And that's the biggest thing, is that if you're going to go to the AI technology, you have to be as out of the box as you possibly can be, because it just doesn't naturally natively blend well unless you're as close to that line as you can get. How'd I do?
You did pretty good. The one thing I would say, though, is don't be afraid of, if you have to customize and there's a business need for it, I don't want you to think that you can't leverage these tools if you've had some sort of customization. It's more so making sure that before you implement, if you have customizations that are related to the feature or functionality that Now Assist solution is bringing to you, maybe you're checking initially first, hey, do we have customizations here that we're leveraging today? And it was really more of a learning lesson for us. Moving forward, we wouldn't run into that issue. But I think it's just understanding where those customizations are prior, and then just planning and adapting to it accordingly.
Almost like your skip list when you upgrade.
Yeah.
That's true.
Following up on that, it sounds like Now Assist is trained on an out-of-the-box instance, and then once you install it, if things don't line up, it has trouble. So this is more of a ServiceNow question. Is there any method for retraining, or you said it evolves, but that's a big ask to say, things have changed and now this LLM just does not look at your instance and see what's there. It sees what it thinks should be there.
Before you answer, if you don't mind, kind of to clarify a little bit. So it really wasn't an issue. It was more so we had some custom fields where we were expecting the inputs to go, if that makes sense. And we realized after the fact, hey, this isn't where this data actually lives. And so it wasn't necessarily, I know what you're getting at, which is a good question. Trying to understand if you do have customizations, how can Now Assist work with those customizations? Is that sort of, yeah. It's a good question. I'm not.
I would have to say, kind of just reiterate that once, I would think before you go through your implementation is to work with our team to take a look at what that looks like. If there's a workaround, maybe there's something that we could recommend for that.
So I know we got just a little bit of time here, and I know we're up against lunch, so I don't want to get between you and lunch. But we do have a booth downstairs. We're near the Deloitte and the ServiceNow booth, right in between. Feel free to come by. We're happy to talk more about our journey and things that have happened, and connect some folks too. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it.